We talk a lot about the need for innovation in healthcare. You literally cannot go a week without seeing an article or listening to a podcast about some new technology that is going to quote unquote disrupt the current healthcare system. But where is innovation really happening in healthcare? And more specifically, where is innovation happening on the provider side of healthcare marketing? Well, to get an answer to that question, I sat down with Jared Johnson, fellow Swaay.Health editor and founder of Swaay.Health production and marketing group. We spoke about where innovation is most needed and what companies are being innovative when it comes to healthcare marketing. Hello and welcome to Swaay.Health, where we bring you the latest insights and interesting stories from the brightest minds in healthcare marketing. I'm Colin Hung, and I invite you to watch and listen to this discussion with Jared Johnson on innovation in healthcare. So get ready to be inspired, learn some new tricks, and take your marketing game to the next level. Let's jump right in. Jared, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks. Great to always, as usual, to get to connect with you and chat a little bit about the industry.
Yeah, this is, I think, our first official Swaay.Health conversation between the two of us. I'm excited to have you on the program. I'm also excited to have you on that side of the microphone.
Nice. Well, we'll see how we do here, but yeah, we're excited. We'll give it a shot.
All right. So today, Jared, wanted to talk to you about what you're seeing out there in terms of innovation in marketing. Because August is our innovation month. That's what we're covering here at Swaay. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of see what you're seeing. So let me start by asking you this question. Where is innovation most needed in healthcare marketing right now?
So I feel like it's in a few different areas, but they're all tied to how consumers are experiencing healthcare. And that means there's an opportunity and a need to evolve the brand promise for the majority of healthcare organizations, provider organizations, hospitals, health systems. There's a need to evolve the messaging and that entire brand promise. Whereas for 100 plus years, that brand promise has essentially been, well, when you need that great amount of help, that acute care, then we're here. And by the way, it's not going to be that easy to find us, but we have the best doctors. So come be cared for by the best doctors. And quality was really attempted to be a differentiator. So the brand promise was, yeah, we know it's not that easy to access us or to get scheduled with us, but don't worry about that. Just come in and you'll be seen and you'll get great care. And there's an evolution that needs to happen there to adjust to consumers' new expectations. So in the messaging and branding side, there's absolutely a need for innovation to be able to not only create that new brand promise, but to execute on it, to be able to improve the accessibility, the affordability, the convenience. Sometimes those words are uncomfortable when we're trying to establish expectations for a patient journey. And yet that's what needs to happen. There's some innovation that needs to happen there. So how do we do that? How do you build that structure and that experience? That's the trick. That's where innovation needs to happen right now. That may or may not be playing to the strengths of the same team that is managing digital campaigns all day long. It may or may not play to the strengths of existing team structures, but it needs to be in there somewhere. I'm aware of some health systems that have built up a consumerism department that sits within marketing. I'm aware of others that have done that and it sits adjacent to marketing. So sometimes that includes more of a MarTech stack management. It includes more of a maybe a human-centered design, like an experience design team that, again, works very closely with marketing, but wasn't spun up out of marketing. So there's a lot of internal mechanisms that need to happen, a lot of procedures, a lot of culture changes that are going to need to happen to facilitate that. And all of those together are accounting for the fact of how expectations are changing from even before somebody becomes a patient, before they start looking for a care encounter, setting up a doctor's visit at all. Before that even happens, how are they deciding to continue on that path? There's just a lot that's happening there.
So, Jared, who are you seeing out there, and who do you regard as an innovator in healthcare marketing right now?
Ooh, well, I guess in a few different ways. I can see this, and maybe start with the branding standpoint. I've seen, I first saw a few months ago this trend of, I just spent some time actually looking at retailers and some of these value-based primary care provider organizations, that the way that they market themselves online is very different. And it's because they can offer a different brand promise. They can say it's convenient, it's affordable, it's accessible, it's easier. Our doctors actually care. And once I started looking at places like Oak Street Health, CVS Health, Amazon, One Medical, Walmart, what were they actually saying? Even Best Buy Health, that doesn't, employ doctors, but they enable at-home care, for instance. As I started looking at those messages that they were providing, I can see how that may be one of the biggest forces that is impacting consumer expectations for their experience. So One Medical's out there saying primary care you can count on. Finally, a doctor who listens. Oak Street is like, hey, finally a doctor who pays attention to me. The messaging itself combined, like cumulatively, those messages are going to impact how we feel like an experience should be with our doctor. We're going to be, I don't want to fill out the clipboard anymore when I get to the office. Can something be done so I don't have to do that? So that collectively is going to impact marketing, messaging, positioning, brand promise. There's only so much that a traditional provider organization can do to fulfill that type of brand promise. But if there are efforts that are being made to improve a patient experience, or anything that happens even before or after the patient experience, then let's focus on that in our messaging. I think it's a recognition that just focusing on quality and US News rankings is not going to do the trick. That can still be part of, some of the messaging, some of the campaigns, but not as a focus anymore. There's an expectation, there's table stakes that, yeah, your doctors should be competent, they should be high quality. Anyone I see should be a good doctor. So that's less of a differentiated message. So when I see, like an Oak Street or another retailer, or what we'd consider a disruptor, and the way that they market themselves, I think collectively that's going to be a big factor of how we change our branding. Now, on the experience side of that, there are organizations that are helping to connect the dots, if you will, of a patient experience. There are organizations like Care Sherpa. You and I both know Jessica Walker, right? What a tribute to the work that she does, right? Of being able to connect marketing campaigns with the operational challenge, the operational experience that needs to happen to bring somebody in who is interested in a type of care, and actually get them connected with that care and have that go on. There's so much that doesn't happen. There's so many ways that ball gets dropped along the way. And so I've always enjoyed the work that she does there. I think it's still very innovative to understand what all has to happen from a campaign to somebody actually being seen by a healthcare professional. There are organizations like Feedback, Dean Brow, you and I both know Dean Browell too, right? And the team there. So they use digital ethnography, right? Their case, if you will, the case to be made there is that there's a lot more data that's available to you about how consumers feel about your brand and your experience. A lot of it's on social media, publicly posted, but they're not doing it in your channels. They may not be saying the same things when they're posting something publicly as they are in your, when you ask them for a net promoter score. Right. Would you recommend our organization? How do they really feel about it? It's this kind of culminating and combing through data that's posted in other places. So I think that's pretty innovative. I think that's a necessary part of truly understanding a customer, like what really is voice of the customer research, because it does change a lot. And you can't just assume that what matters to the clinical team and the clinical staff and maybe a patient experience team even is going to be the same thing that matters to a consumer at some point. So that I like what Epic Cheers is promising. So Epic Cheers is essentially the CRM platform that has stemmed out of Epic. And I think it's worth noting what they're attempting to do, at least, which is have this EHR based functionality, CRM like functionality of connecting some of that data and connecting some of the encounter data, but also some of the more, maybe I'd refer to it as the inbound encounters that are happening from marketing campaigns, and being able to have that data housed directly in the EHR, not having to have as many places involved where that data gets flowed from one place to another, but actually have some of that functionality pull straight there from Epic. So yeah, there's some interesting things happening, and a lot of it is tech-based, but there's still, when I talk about like CareShare, but they do have a platform. They also have a very service-oriented team that is literally guiding people through their care encounters. So yeah, I get there's a few different areas going on.
Yeah, I like how you have a mixture there, right? You've got some technologies, like you mentioned with Epic, and some of the things they're doing with their CRM embedded in the EHR. You talked about a lot about brand innovation that's happening with some of these retailers entering the healthcare space and how they're using brand as innovation, meaning they're talking more about the experience that you're going to receive by going to them, as opposed to the outcomes and the quality. Not that they're poor quality, but they're just not focusing on that's sort of assumed, I think, in their minds. They're talking about the convenience and the easy locations and how you're going to be treated and listened to, right? They're really focusing on that as an innovative way to go to market. And of course, you're talking a lot about our friend Jessica there around innovations in terms of operations, right? The connecting the campaign to actual capacity and going, well, actually, if we ran this campaign, do we even have enough appointments to make this work? Do we have enough call center capacity to make this work? Things that, frankly, we hadn't really thought of before, and now we should, because when one is disjointed from the other, disasters can happen. And Jared, are you seeing any innovation on the org chart or the roles? I mean, I know you jokingly mentioned prompt engineers. I don't think we're yet at the point where, too many healthcare organizations have that role yet in their org chart yet. But have you seen any innovation on that front?
I've seen more of a marriage from the MarTech department with other aspects of IT. And then I've also seen more aspects of the business strategy side with human-centered design. And sometimes you've seen both. So you've seen more connectivity with an experience design team or a digital patient experience team that's either a dotted line to marketing and a dotted line to IT, or it's still housed within marketing, but it's very digitally focused. And so they're meeting regularly with at least some members of the IT leadership team. And on the human-centered design team, what I've seen is, that may be where the business strategy team recognizes that they need a better approach to understanding the needs of who they're trying to serve with the business and how they do that. And so that's a whole skill set of human-centered design, experience design, design thinking, a lot of tools in that tool set that are needed that may or may not have come up through a marketing team. And yet those skills are so important within marketing to be able to do some of that innovation, because it's usually based on changing the approach to meeting the needs of some kind of client or customer somewhere along the way, some stakeholder. Maybe it is the clinical staff, maybe it is directly to consumers, but there's a need that's being met instead of just a thing that we're trying to manage. So I'm seeing those are adjustments to the org chart. I don't know that there's a widespread blowing up of the marketing org chart, but there are definitely questions of how do we incorporate some of these things and connect with the business strategy and with the digital capabilities.
Final question for you, Jared. I asked you at the start, where do we need most innovation, more innovation in healthcare? Let me end by asking you, what are you keeping your eye on? What innovators or what innovations are you most excited about and kind of keeping your eye on right now?
Well, we joked about prompt engineers, right? Could we have a full conversation about marketing innovation without talking about ChatGPT and all the downstream generative AI applications that are available now. It's changing so quickly. I'm trying to keep my eye on it just simply because day to day, week to week, it changes. There's new announcements every day. It feels a lot like the early days of social media and mobile marketing that were just all happening all at the same time, and everyone's had so many new things to master and understand, and there's just a lot of knowledge sharing, and I love that aspect here. So it's as a I've steered away the last several years of focusing on a platform or technology as a catalyst, because I've usually been like, well, that's either just helping us do the same things better or worse than we were, so we need to fix the strategy first. But this has the potential, it really does, to change the day-to-day workflows of so many aspects of marketing that it'd be impossible to not want to keep your eye on it, just to understand and not fall too far behind. And yes, that's exactly what we're talking about with an innovation function, of being able to have some space in your team to experiment and to try it out, and then to share with everybody else what they've learned. So yeah, definitely focused on generative AI right now.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat as you, kind of keeping their eye either warily or enthusiastically on generative AI.
Yeah, it's hard to avoid the buzzwords, right? I hesitated even going there, right? We talked for how long without even mentioning it, right? We don't want to sound like we're just talking about it because everyone else is talking about it. And yet it's rare that I've seen so much actual promise behind something that everyone's talking about. So there's something different. There's a lot different. There's a lot of potential here, and it will continue to change based on new tools that are available to us.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jared, thanks a lot for being on our program. We'll have to have you back, of course, and we'll have another one of these discussions the next month. But thank you for all your insights around innovation in healthcare marketing.
My pleasure, Colin. Thanks again.
I want to thank Jared again for spending time with us today and sharing his perspective on innovation in healthcare marketing. My takeaway from this conversation is that innovation isn't always tied to a new technology. There are lots of innovative things happening in terms of brand positioning, messaging, organizational structure, and even our approach to delivering healthcare services, all of which healthcare marketers can have an impact on. And hey, if you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, please help us by clicking that like button. And also head on over to Swaay.Health. That's Sway with 2 A's, .health. And that's where you'll find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next video.